as a brand, our idea is to figure out, okay, so a customer in the Indian ecosystem needs something that is suitable for the tropical climate, something that you can slip on and slip off every day. You don't think about it much. You just pick it up because it goes with everything in your wardrobe pretty much. And you're on your feet for 13, 14 hours. 8 hours of work, 9 hours of work, and then after that, hanging out with your buddies or having dinner, going to a pub. All that stuff happens. So 13, 14 hours you're on your feet, so needs to be super comfortable. That was the thought process with which we launched this, right? So our shoes are fundamentally designed a little differently from most shoes. Our vision is to create shoes that are like t-shirts for your feet. It has to be as comfortable as wearing a t-shirt, right? It cannot be something that is so heavily padded because it's supposed to look comfortable.
I really like that. Yeah.
Our idea of comfort in a shoe is heavy padding, like pillows on all sides of your feet. The problem with that is it becomes a microwave and your feet are actually cooking in them. Right? So how do you fix that, and how do you actually create shoes that are like t-shirts? So that was the idea that which we wanted to launch with. The problem with this is, if you go to Myntra and search for casual shoes, you have 17,000 shoes that show up on your search feed, right? How do you differentiate? How do you get your message across that, hey, this is what we're doing that is different and that is actually solving a problem for everyday wear? Our hypothesis was that story is better told on your own website, and hence we created that messaging on our website and then launched it and tried to get traffic onto our website. So that was the hypothesis in the initial stages, saying if you're a D2C brand, your strength as a brand is your own customer who comes to your website, reads about you, understands what he's buying, and then buys it, right? So that was the thought process with which we kicked it off. Long story short, a brand is built when people actually understand you and buy your product because they believe in what they're seeing. And that happens more on your website than on marketplaces, right? So that was the thesis on why D2C.
So something you said that's really interesting, right, that I think a lot of brands struggle with as well is most of your traffic comes organically from your website. Would you tell us a little bit more about that?
So far, about 80% of our business comes from our own website. It is hard in the early stages. I won't, to be honest, I won't sugarcoat that. People need to discover you. People need to believe that you're not a fly-by-night Club Factory brand that is just, showing up on Instagram and taking your money and running away. There are a lot of incidences that have happened because of which there's a lot of bad taste in people's mouths as well, right? So you need to convince people, build trust, and stay as real as possible. Typically when people order from small boutique websites, the experience is not that great, right? The product will get shipped only after 3 or 4 days, whereas in Amazon, the day you order it will get shipped, right? You can immediately get tracking information. A lot of websites don't even offer tracking information, so you have no idea whether your product is coming or not, and then following up with them is a major pain. So there are a lot of things that you encounter with new brands because of which you're quite apprehensive. Building that entire customer journey or customer experience out has been a learning in progress, right? In order to, how do you beat Amazon at the delivery promise, right? So that is one big challenge that we had, which we are doing for the top 8 cities right now, right? So there is a lot of things that you need to build in as a D2C brand if you're driving traffic to your website, in order to make sure that people are not left with a bad taste in their mouth. Why did I order from this website? Why did I not order from Amazon? Should not be the question in your head. There is no substitute for performance marketing. You have to do performance marketing. That leads to bread and butter for sure. So yeah, Instagram marketing, Facebook Ads Manager is our daily life, along with Google Ads. Incidentally, search traffic on shoes is quite high. So Google Ads actually contributes a decent amount of traffic. While a lot of brands have early traction from Instagram, we weren't great at Instagram, but LinkedIn actually started contributing about 15-20% of the traffic, which was organic, right? So And organic traffic was actually very high conversion traffic. So we were reaching out to the right audience, sending the right message, and people started buying. So after that, we did a couple of small hacks as well. We did something called a crowd speaking campaign, where we got about, so we were 15 people in the team, right? So everyone decided that we'll get at least 20 people from our network who has presence on social media, who has at least 300 followers. That was our benchmark, right? So we said anybody who has 300 followers or more should be part of this. We sent them a message saying, hey, you know what? We are doing something called crowd speaking during the Valentine's Day weekend, right? 12, 13, 14 February. They said, we want a favor from you. Why don't you give us a small shout out saying, hey, here's a shout out to brand Flatheads. My friend works there. They're building something really cool. Try these shoes out. To the women, we sent a message saying, hey, you know what? Friends there working, building Flatheads. Here's a great gift that you can give to your Valentine, right? So these are the kind of messages that we personalized and we handed out to multiple people, right? And out of the 400, 500 people that we reached out to, 150 people actually talked about it. So on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I remember during that Valentine's Day weekend, of course, there is a lot of Valentine's chitter, chatter, performance marketing, ads, all that stuff going on from brands. Plus, there was a big fundraise announcement from one of the startups. I don't remember who. They had raised about $25-30 million, which was a big fundraise announcement. It was all over LinkedIn. But guess what? This completely swamped a lot of those, things happening out there during this weekend. 2 or 3 very interesting things happened. First, people started talking about it, right? So who we asked people to write about it, they started talking. And once these 150 people wrote about us in a period of a 2 to 3 hour time frame, suddenly organically people who have already experienced our sneakers started replying to those messages and sharing those messages and saying, you know what, even I've tried this brand and it's great. You should definitely go and try it out. And then engagement started. Other people who were saying, oh, what is this brand? Sounds pretty cool. Maybe I should try it out. And those kind of conversations started happening across all social media, right? And our reach pretty much went to almost 15 to 20x of what it would have been just to that base of 300 followers of each of those people that we talked about, right? So it was a phenomenal campaign, and that actually generated a lot of interest, which then even 2 months, 3 months later was converting for us as customers, right? So a lot of these stuff, when you're a small brand, you can do a lot of this hacks to get organic traffic as well. But yeah, of course, bread and butter is Instagram and Facebook and Google. You can't escape that. I'll come back to that for sure. That is 70 to 80% of your traffic right now.
What has building like the customer journey, building the customer loyalty been like? What are some things that you feel like you've learned from it that you might do differently? I think let's start with that.
One of the big learnings with customers has been whenever we've been a little more real in the way we talk rather than very selly or salesy in the way we talk, that has resonated a lot, right? Especially in building the organic traffic, which is the quality traffic that comes and converts at phenomenal conversion rate. That has been a big learning. So I think we need to get more real in the way we talk, a little more approachable in the way we talk, and not preachy or not very pushy in saying, buy these shoes again and again. Second is at our price point, we are at a premium price point, right? We are not below the 1,000 rupee price point at all, right? We are between 1,500 to 4,000 even, right? So and we have differentiated sneakers with bamboo fiber. We're the first in India, third in the world to do that. There's a lot of stuff going on in terms of building differentiation for the brand from the product perspective as well. When that is the case, it becomes a consideration purchase, which means the customer, the first time he sees the ad, will not come and buy it on impulse like he buys a graphic tee, for example, right? So people need to think about it, and people need to be convinced about it. So we build a complete funnel approach to the marketing, right? So there is a top of funnel messaging, which is talking about why Flatheads is a casual sneaker brand you should pay attention to. right? And then there is a mid funnel where there is a lot of consideration advertising, saying why is Flatheads better than the other shoes that you're wearing in the casual space. And then there is a bottom of the funnel conversion campaign where we're saying, hey, you know what? Right now you're at the price just dropped, or right now there is a sale going on, or right now here is a spot discount for you to come and buy. So this approach has worked very well for us. It is hygiene when you think about it, but in execution it's quite hard. Visual fatigue is very, very fast. While content fatigue, you can actually show the same content to the customer 3 times. After twice, you will start seeing a little bit of fatigue. But visual fatigue, as soon as you see the ad once, if you see the same ad again, immediately the customer will switch off. So you need to be a lot more faster in terms of visual refreshes. And there are new media coming through, right? Videos, the kind of videos that work. Previously, it used to be a lot of static. Then it became carousels. Now there are a lot more videos,
reels, right? And all of that. Yeah,
absolutely. So that medium is also evolving every day as we speak. Right? So you need to keep up with that. You need to experiment a lot. Ultimately, it's about experimenting. I don't think anybody can call themselves a performance marketing or a brand building expert, because every day these things change, right? So as long as you have the broad picture in mind, saying, hey, this is the target audience I'm going after, and this is what I need to talk about. After that, it's all experimentation, right? You keep testing, you keep doubling down on what works, and then keep dropping what doesn't work. That's pretty much been our everyday, both in terms of brand messaging as well as in terms of performance marketing.
You launched at like a couple months before the pandemic hit. So for context, you've managed to grow this brand through the pandemic. So what are some things that you went in with a certain approach and then this random wrench was thrown into the plans? Like, what are some things that you had to readjust?
I would say that the fact that we are still alive, through 2 waves, and
it's amazing.
A third wave coming through
itself.
I should just pat everybody in the team on the back because of that. But yeah, seriously talking, it has been a journey of survival. When we launched in November 2019, as I said, right? So December, Jan, Feb, March, and that's when it hit. So barely 3 months in, trying to get our engines going, trying to figure out what performance marketing means, trying to figure out what your messaging means, and then this happened.
As that LinkedIn campaign was happening for Valentine's Day and everything, like the other news you overshadowed, I'm assuming, is the pandemic.
Pretty much, right? And it was a sudden lockdown where we were completely caught off guard. So it was a time when it was shell shocked first, right? For the first week, we were just sitting there wondering what the hell we should do. And then survival instincts kicked in, where we said, you know what, people are not stepping out, nobody is buying shoes. What is the next thing we can sell? Everybody in Amazon and Flipkart wanted to sell masks. Every category manager was asking us if we have masks to sell. And our suppliers were saying, you know what, we make knit fibers, and masks are also knit fibers. So do you want masks? We said, okay, let us buy some masks, let us put it out there, and let us start selling. Let us at least survive. Right? So that was the next thing that happened. We started selling masks to just at least stay alive and stay afloat in the beginning. And then the lockdown kept extending, right? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, right? 2.5 months, after which it started opening up. But yeah, 3 months, it was absolutely down. At that time, another thing happened. Our first set of shoes actually were made in China and Vietnam, right? So we looked at the Indian ecosystem in the beginning, and we figured out that the ecosystem for the knit fibers. Let me show you the shoe, right? The fibers that we have it's a single layer knit fiber. It's literally like a t-shirt, right? It is knit fiber t-shirt. That's how we make the shoes. And this knit technology for shoes is still very nascent in India. We are still very much a leather footwear market and a canvas shoe footwear market, right? Where it's more cutting pieces of cloth or leather and then stitching them together. It's a very manually intensive process. Whereas the knitting process is a lot more automated, right? So that market is still evolving in India. So we said it's a little early here. Maybe we should go to markets like China and Vietnam, where the ecosystem is a lot more defined and existing already. So it will be easier for us to kickstart our product development at least. So our first set of shoes came from there. But then when the pandemic hit, our stocks got stuck. It was completely disrupted. Our supply chain was disrupted, right? So not only were we not selling shoes, we were also not getting shoes. And we had some prototypes in the pipeline that got stuck in customs. It was sitting there for almost a month, and then the whole China standoff happened in June, right? And that pretty much killed all the imports that were coming from China. We said, wow, now what do we do, right? So since we were not selling much, everybody was sitting there, wondering what to do. We did a lot of brainstorming on whether we should shift to another category altogether. We are only 3 months old. We only got one set of shoes. Maybe we should move to another category. We did about 15 days of brainstorming, at the end of which everybody looked at each other in the room and said, yeah, forget it, man. We love shoes and this is what we want to do, so we'll continue this. And we've done enough work in shoes. We know that this market exists, and as long as people have 2 feet, they will come back and buy shoes, right? So it's just a matter of hanging around until the pandemic goes away. And then we said, okay, now if we have to get the shoes done, maybe we should start talking to the Indian suppliers again, because China is not happening as of now. When we did that, something very interesting happened, right? Knit fibers, we were actually looking at manufacturers of shoes as the first set of suppliers, but they didn't have the knit fibers, right? They were more the cut and sew kind of guys. Then we said, t-shirts are knit, so why don't we go to t-shirt suppliers? So we went and spoke to everybody in the t-shirt industry, and that's where we found a couple of very interesting people, right? They were making collars for those polo knits, if you know. Collars are very similar to the shoe knits because they are thicker and they are more abrasion resistant, because it consistently rubs against your neck, right? So it has to be a little more abrasion resistant than the rest of the t-shirt. That is where we found some people who could potentially make shoe uppers as well. Then we sat together with them. During pandemic, we actually took our cars and traveled out. Went to these places, sat in the factories. Incidentally, at that time, what happened was a lot of these guys who were supplying to Europe and the US, their orders were all put on hold or were cancelled, right? So they were sitting with spare capacity. It wasn't 100% capacity because workforce was not there, but 30% capacity was there, and they still had space to manufacture, but they didn't have any utilization happening because all their orders were cancelled. So they were willing to work with even small brands like us, right? So that happened. So we found people who made the uppers. Then we went to the north. Incidentally, some of our people were in Delhi, our teammates who went home and then they were stuck there during the lockdown. We just sent them to the Jalandhar, Chandigarh, Ludhiana belt where a lot of the shoes are made, Agra, Kanpur. And they went to the factory, sat there, and we started making and prototyping some early versions of what we wanted to do. Second was bamboo, right? We knew that bamboo fiber is great for the Indian tropical climate because it is cool. If anybody has ever used bamboo fiber t-shirts or underwear, you will know it is one, super soft. Number two, it is actually cool to the skin. The reason is because it actually wicks moisture. Actively, it wicks moisture, right? So it actually feels a couple of degrees cooler than any other fabric you wear. So we said bamboo is actually a great fiber. We should definitely look at it. And since we were doing new vendor development, we said, hey, why don't we try bamboo as one of the areas that we can go into? And over the 3 months between July, August, September, June, July, August, actually, we built out the entire supply chain in India. Because we were not selling, all of us were focused on building the sourcing and supply chain network, and that kicked off very well. The domain was available, is the first answer. But our idea of creating the name was, number one, our vision for Flatheads is to build something that is an urban lifestyle brand, right? It has a core in shoes, but it doesn't have to be shoes alone, right? So we wanted the name to be an umbrella brand that can hold a lot more than just shoes, right? So, and in terms of the emotional connection, Utkarsh and I are both automotive enthusiasts, right? So he's an off-roader, he's a biker. I've been drag racing at some time during my youth. So both of us like this, and a Flatheads engine is a performance engine that is used in drag racing. So you actually take an existing stock engine and then you modify it to make it a flathead engine in order to get better performance and better torque when you actually accelerate, right? So it is used in drag racing a lot. So which is why we said, okay, this is a great name. And incidentally, Flatheads is also a community of native Indians in Montana, right? So there's a little bit of an element of community. Flatheads are people who are enthusiasts, automotive enthusiasts interested in racing. Flatheads are that community in Montana. So it is a little bit of that feeling that we wanted to work with the name. It is a combination of everything, dude. It has to be the visual, it has to be the copy, and it has to be the right frequency, right? So that you take care of the fatigue. It has to be the right medium. It's some video versus carousels versus statics. There's a lot. You have to do a mix and match to play that, and the target audience, right? You need to hit the target audience right in terms of interest criteria, in terms of geographic criteria. There's a lot at play there, right? So it is a constant
developing change,
evolving hit and trial, if you will, right? So is something that we do. It's trial and error more than anything else. But yeah, there is a method to the madness where we say, hey, so we work on it more from a hypothesis perspective, where we say, you know what, every month we have X number of hypotheses that we want to test, right? This is the target audience we want to hit. This is the messaging that we want to do. This is the kind of creatives that we want to put out in the top of the funnel, in the middle of the funnel, in the bottom of the funnel, right? And so this is a content plan that we do, right? And targeting plan that we do every month. And then it is just going down and keep churning the wheel, trying to figure out which is working, what is the ROAS by campaign level, by ad level, by ad set level, and then trying to figure out what works and then tweaking that again and again and again, right? So if something is working, double down on that in terms of budget, figure out what you can do in terms of creatives to tweak it and make it better. Try, if this is working in static, maybe we can make this work in carousel, maybe we can make this work in video, maybe we can work this as a story ad. So try different formats, try different copies. That's pretty much the trial and error that you keep running every day in order to optimize it better. You also have to look at the audience and the context in which these brands are being built, right? Allbirds, Atoms, all the brands that are built in the US. US has gone through the curve of conspicuous consumption, where people are now going into conscious consumption, where they're saying, they've already been through the consumption curve over the last 4 decades, and now they are into a space where they're saying, hey, am I really doing too much in terms of consumption? Do I need to be a little more conscious? Do I need to be conscious to the environment? Do I need to be conscious about my style? Should I go minimalistic, for example, right, rather than flashy? That's the curve that the group is there, the American audience is on. For that group, this messaging of minimalism, sustainability, carbon footprint, and specific niche use cases around fit, which is Atoms, all-day comfort and sustainability with Allbirds. This messaging works very well. Patagonia, for example, right? Don't buy my stuff is what they say, right? So that is great in that sustainability angle. So that messaging is with that context. In India, we are just waking up to brands, right? India has been a brand-starved country for so long, it's not funny. We are just waking up to brands. We are just getting on the consumption curve. People want to flaunt, right? People want to talk about what they're wearing. People want it to be a part of their personality, right? We started with the functional messaging. It was an experiment. We started with very minimalistic styling. It was an experiment, right? The very top cream of the audience get it, right? And they are the guys who are most exposed to the global standards. They have already tried the Allbirds. They get it, and that's why they are coming and trying us out. But beyond that, the next set of people that are out there, who are our target audience, are in the conspicuous consumption space. They want to get noticed. So now what we are trying to do is we are trying to build a personality around it. Our USP is use cases. What we want to build around is what are the use cases that people use in urban lifestyle, right? We launched bamboo because it is a great summer shoe, and India is 75% summer, right? There is no winter in India. Well, Delhi, north of India, yes, there is a serious winter, but most of the tropical side of the country, it never snows, and barely you will see 20 degrees as the lowest temperature that we go to. That summer shoe is great for the tropical climate. That was the first use case that we hit. The first use case, even before that, was all day work, right? So our shoes were a little more sober. The blacks, the grays, the dark soles. In India, it's very dusty, so white soles don't work very well. So you launch dark soles. We know that white soles will look great on an Instagram ad, but the guy will still come and buy the gray sneaker, right? And that's what happens. Your Instagram ads look a little more flashier, a little more expressive, but what people actually come and buy are the signature lines. And we know what works because we've been doing our sales analysis, right? So accordingly, the stocks that we keep are very different, as opposed to the branding that we do and the marketing that we do are very different. The second, so work from home I talked about. So we launched the lounger because that was the use case at present. We wanted to launch a monsoon shoe, which we did not launch, but we will launch next year, which is specifically for the monsoon. We have never seen a monsoon sneaker other than the gumboots in India, right? So I think it's high time we have a great sneaker for the monsoon, and we already have it ready, right? Next, what about if you're a biker? If you're an urban commuter, 50 to 60% chance, if not 70% chance that you're riding a bike, right? Can we build a shoe for urban commuters where there is a gear shift, right? And that's where the problem happens. Can we actually build some protection around the gear shift, right? So that is something that we are developing. We are doing collaborations with a lot of people in order to launch lifestyle kind of a positioning, right? So all that is in work in progress right now. So the idea is to build around urban lifestyle and the use cases there, right? So long story short, that's our USP. It is multiple use cases. It is not just one niche that can take you to a large lifestyle brand in India, not yet. So that's the journey that we're on. On the fulfillment side, we've centralized everything. Even when we sell on the marketplaces, we actually fulfill from our own warehouse. So all our inventory is centralized. We have 2 warehouses now, going to 3 warehouses very soon across the country. There is one in the north, one in the south. So that pretty much covers in the top 8 cities. We deliver within 1 max 2 days, right? Which is equivalent or sometimes better than Amazon, because we also sell on Amazon, so we know what the delivery times are. That is fabulous, and that was the goal, right? How do we beat Amazon on delivery times was one of the targets that we took. At least in the top 8 cities, we can do that. Top 20 cities accounts for about 70-75% of our business. So we are pretty much a top 20 city business. In the top 20 cities, we reach the customer within 3 days. Absolute worst, it will be 4 days, right? So that's been the target that we have taken, and about 95% of the time we hit that, right? So that's pretty much been our journey. There is a lot of stuff to be said about early automation in order to make that happen. Thankfully, Delivery has been an investor and a very value-added investor from that perspective. They have helped us think through the technology part right from the beginning, right? And we don't own all these warehouses. We don't run them ourselves. It's all outsourced, but it is managed by us, right? So warehouse and logistics is something that we use aggregators for, but we manage it very closely with them. Having an investor with an understanding of how to build scale and how to work technology in right from the beginning has helped a lot. That's pretty much where our logistics and supply chain is. I would pay more attention to the Indian audience. This audience is evolving, right? Now, I don't think bringing a global line and just adapting it to the Indian price point by de-specking it in terms of the engineering specs is going to work anymore. Um you will have to understand the Indian audience and develop products for the Indian audience, right? It is like taking uh, uh, um, a Honda bestseller in the other spaces like a Honda Civic or a Honda City, bringing it to India and then stripping it off and making more plastic and reducing the power of the engine and saying that, hey, this is meant for the Indian audience. It is not that. You really need to build it from the ground up. You need to understand what the audience wants and you need to build that out. Look at China. Look at the brands like Li-Ning, Anta, Peak, 360. These are brands that are standing head to head with the Nike, Puma, Adidas out there. They have almost equal market share. If you combine 4 or 5 of these brands and combine Nike, Puma, Adidas, I think they're almost equal in terms of market share. They are doing a lot more in terms of the price points, in terms of understanding the local audience, what is their fashion trends, what are the things that are happening with the pop culture there, what are the lifestyle changes that are happening, and hence what we need to develop in terms of products, right? You go to malls there now. Li-Ning and Anta showrooms are bigger than Nike and Adidas showrooms in the malls, right? Something phenomenal is happening out there, and as far as we are concerned, we are probably 10 years behind what China is in terms of consumerist economy, 10 to 15 years. So that wave is going to come here for sure, right? It is not a matter of if it is going to happen. It is going to happen. When is it going to happen is the question. And I think it has already started happening now. So you don't want to miss that wave here. You really want to start early and start understanding the audience and building for that audience a lot more. And it is always not a build versus build internally decision. If there are a lot more nimble players who are out there who are understanding this audience and building for this audience, maybe it is a buy decision as well. Maybe you can collaborate. Maybe you can look at Adidas. They have just collaborated with Allbirds in order to bring that sustainability into their portfolio. That is a big step for somebody like Adidas. They're looking at they are a top 2 brand in the world, and they're looking at this little upstart coming up in the last 5 years out of nowhere. In order to have the humility to go and collaborate with somebody like that, it takes a lot of guts, but they've done it, right? So maybe that should start happening a lot earlier in the Indian ethos as well, is what I would say. Yeah, my daughter has always told me that I'm the classic dad making dad jokes. I'm proud to do that. And we have some really funny stuff that we do on our shoes as well, right? So, for example, our insole. I don't know if people have ever taken their insoles out. On it says you have a kind soul, SOLE. Right? There's a little bit of a pun there as well. So yeah, we keep doing stupid Easter eggs like this as well. So yeah,
I love how you just like have a sneaker around, an extra sole, like just casually.
yeah. We have shoes on our dining table a lot of times as well. Yeah, we are probably the only family that does that on a regular basis and thinks it's normal.